Call a meeting of the PCIC to order, please. Hey, good morning. I'll read the roll. Specific time. Miss Allen is, as you're aware, is absent this morning. Peterman is taking over the meeting. Mr. Foster.
Present.
Mr. Hanson.
Here.
Ms. McSwain.
Present.
Mr. Peterman. Here. Mr. Rice.
Present.
And Mr. Barron.
Here.
Vice Chair, we do have a quorum. Thank you. Next thing on the agenda is the minutes from the last meeting. Yes, the meeting minutes from your March 26th, 2024 meeting were sent out with the package. I do believe there's also a copy of those at the table this morning for your review and consideration. But we are in a motion to approve the minutes.
I'm moving the minutes be approved as written.
Ms. McSwain, for a second.
1 second.
Barrow. Further discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Barrow,
Yes.
Foster,
Yes.
Mr. Hanson,
Yes.
Ms. McSwain,
Yeah,
Mr. Wright,
Yes.
and Peter. Yeah. Here, the item is adopted by a vote of 6-0. Okay. Next thing on the agenda is the financials. Yes, we have Ms. Barisha from the Finance Department who's here with us this morning. I do want to note that there was a revision to what was sent out in your package on Friday. There was a column that was included for 2020 that has been removed. So there are updated financials on the overhead and then at the table printed as well. But Laura, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Good morning. So we're here to present financials, unaudited financials for third quarter fiscal year 2024 or period ending March 31st, 2024. What you have here in front of you is a balance sheet or net position report, which has comparable data with fiscal year 2023. Based on this, the number you have total assets 2.1 million, total 2.4 million. And the bottom line, if you go under, here's the unrestricted net position, almost $1 million. So not a lot went on during this fiscal year, but to be mentioned is that the bottom line got decreased for $43,000. The net position got decreased for $43,000. The next report, it will be an income statement, and it shows the revenue that so far the revenues coming to PPIC are only the interest income from the bank, which is somewhere 14 million. And the expenses are mostly 50,000 for grants, which includes grants for downtown development grants. And the bottom line, as I mentioned, the first page, it is 43,000 less than previous year. The next page has a year-to-date budget report, which goes line by line. The top three are revenues, and you can see there that the revenues compared to what's budgeted $1,000, we already got $14.8 thousand as interest. And down the line are expenses, and mostly expenses, as I mentioned, 50,000 includes downtown development grants, and the others are contractual services. Total is 43,000 less than previous year. Next page, you can see, this is the schedule of interest. They have 700. No, they have cash in Atlantic Union, $100,000, and the interest they're getting is that one, and it goes by month. Total so far is $14.8 thousand. And the next page, that's a budget. Okay. If you have any question, I'd be glad to answer. So.
Are there any questions for Ms. Barisha before we move forward to the next item? So do we need to vote on that? No, sir. The financial report does not need any action, so there's no vote to be taken on that.
They're just important.
Your next item is your FY25 budget, and if, Chris, I can actually just try to zoom in a little bit there if you're able to, if anybody has any questions. There is a printed copy at the table. This is the, same document that was provided to you, at your March 26th meeting. Numbers have been updated. They do reflect, projections for, the coming fiscal year beginning July 1. I don't believe we received any comments, following March 26th meeting, but, Treasurer McSwain, if you have any further comments or items you want to discuss, I think that would be appropriate.
No, sir, I don't.
Pretty much in line with last year. I think we've made a few just minor increases, but if you all are comfortable, we can adopt the budget, today. Unless there are any items that require us to review and come back at a later date, but, we will need to have this adopted and, we'll need a motion.
Or motion to adopt the budget as written.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
From Barron, and a second by Mr. Hanson.
Yeah.
For any discussion? Okay, hearing none, Mr. Barron,
Yes.
Mr. Foster,
Yes.
Mr. Hanson,
Yes.
Mr. Swain,
Yes,
Mr. Rice,
Yes.
and Mr. Peterman.
Yeah.
Vice Chair, the budget is adopted by a vote of 6-0.
Okay, that brings us to old business. And I guess the first thing is the Port of Virginia update.
Yeah, hey, good morning, everyone. Thank you. This opportunity, I appreciate, always to come before the PPIC and provide an update. Obviously, a month ago when we, last met, it was, the morning of, the tragic event up in Baltimore, with the Keybit Bridge collapse. And so, today I just wanted to provide additional remarks, obviously around, the subsequent weeks following what's happened in Baltimore. Kind of put it in perspective as well, from a port to port perspective. And Peter, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I think I'm going to talk PMT, but I think honestly, you have a real great, front row seat, driver's seat or passenger seat, depending on who you talk to, but on what's going on at PMT, because this is a pivotal time, for Portsmouth Marine Terminal and our efforts to continue to reposition that facility to support the deployment of CVAL and hopefully other future offshore wind development projects here along the U.S. East Coast. So first I'll start with current volumes and where we stand. Obviously, the last 4 weeks have seen increases in volume as a result of the tragic events there in Baltimore. Just to give you a sense, sort of make it an apples to apples, or just, thinking about port to port. The Port of Baltimore is a very diversified facility, very much like the Port of Virginia. They have container ports, they have coal handling facilities, they have multi-purpose terminals that handle railroad, so cars and vehicles and tractors and trucks. They have a cruise ship terminal. So, we start, there are a lot of similarities there. And obviously, because of the blockage, a lot of that activity what can be diverted has been diverted down into this harbor. If it's not the cruise ship business, we've seen those call there in Norfolk, as well as the container ships. Baltimore had approximately 11 weekly vessels that were container vessels calling. 9 of those 11 were already calling the Port of Virginia. So as you could imagine, there's been a subsequent just repositioning of that freight for the time being. A lot of that freight, just the way it shakes out, was calling over at VIG, so Virginia National Gateway there in Portsmouth. I think 7 of the 9 were already calling at VIG. So we have seen some upticks. In fact, about at VIG right now, we're running about 4,250 moves, so 4,250 a day on a move count. If we look at the gate, whereas right before the events, last month, we were at about 3,200 moves a day. So, and that's approximate. That's a moving sort of flexible average. So, obviously we've seen that uptick, but, we take a step back, thinking about the port and obviously we've all experienced the pandemic in different ways. In the port business, our volume, grew substantially, matched truly by the fact that the Commonwealth of Virginia has been investing in our terminal assets and the terminal structure for decades. And that, in obviously times of uncertainty, has paid tremendous dividends to us, citizens of the Commonwealth, and to the benefit that the port can provide. Looking at our biggest and highest volume month we ever had at the Port of Virginia to date, that was May of 2022. We moved as a port 341,611 TEUs. In March of 2024, that's our last month, we did 291,702. So I guess what I'm getting at is we have the ability, based on the sound investment practices and being a modernized terminal, that obviously we're going to support our friend there in Baltimore. And truly, our messaging has been since day one, we're going to be a good neighbor. And that's our approach. That volume will go back when the blockage is cleared. And in fact, I understand that maybe even this week they'll begin to have some barge depth access as the Army Corps has taken mighty steps to clear a channel up into that harbor. And so we'll continue to provide support to those shared customers, being the steamship lines, of course, our fellow mariners and those working on the waterfront. But in the time being, we have seen, like I said, you've seen upticks in volume on the gate. I know the question has come up by some folks locally and even at this table about, the gate at VIG. Just for transparency, at the Port of Virginia, we run a reservation system. So truckers, our motor carrier partners, when they arrive at the port between the hours of open and 3 p.m., we have required reservations. And I can tell you this local trucking community has been terrific partners and adapting to that technology and have netted direct benefits because of the fact that here in Virginia, we have world-class turn times, meaning time it takes from the truck to come in off of 164 through our gate in to get its box and then back out to complete that mission. We were averaging well under 40 minutes in March for the Annam. And now obviously with this uptick in volume and also out of market drivers who obviously are supporting their customers there in Maryland, there is a learning curve or just, that need to adapt and to adopt our practices. Our team has been very proactive in doing webinars where we've had great participation from Maryland truckers, understanding how our reservation system works. And so it's just been, somewhat of a process getting folks used to the reservation system, getting into it, adopt to it. But after 3 o'clock, you'll see points of the day where you'll see a different gate than you'll see right now. I checked the gate just when I sat down in here, and the queue was what it typically is at 9 o'clock. Very fluid. I mean, there was a couple trucks, but not more than a couple waiting to get in the terminal. And so I think what we'll end up seeing is, it'll have its days, its peaks and valleys, because the last 30 days, there have been a couple days where we had a weather event, there was a power situation, there are things out of our control. It's natural business course of operation, things happen. But I think as we move forward, we'll continue to see that level out and see the efficient turn times return that we've always experienced. In fact, our turn times are still below an hour. And if you went, again, today at this time, you would experience that sub 40-minute standard practice that the Port of Virginia provides the trucking community. Again, it just takes some time getting used to it. We've extended our gate hours on Saturday, so we are running a full gate on Saturday at VIG to help, again, relieve some of the pressure that might exist for, again, companies trying to get their freight out of the facility and then back up to, obviously, Maryland operations. There have been truckers and motor carriers in the market that have worked collaboratively. I've heard of one situation outside of in Spotsylvania County, I believe, Caroline County, where they stood up a drop yard and a trucking firm that has a presence here, along with partners up in Baltimore, and using, again, a point at which it's almost like a halfway point, enabling for those Maryland drivers. So I think it's pretty cool to see all parties come together. And then I commend also Department of Transportation at the federal level. Obviously, they've taken steps that they can on the truckers' ability to have a few extra hours of service. Obviously, their time as a truck driver is limited on a per day basis. They have added 2 hours of additional drive times, enabling, again, some of those truckers to make the full turn from coming out of Baltimore. So I know there's still a lot of pain that's being experienced, but I think a lot of parties have stepped in to provide that support and until the channel's back open. As a Port of Virginia, I talked about it last time, we have our Maritime Incident Response Team, which we've had here in the harbor. City of Portsmouth's a big partner in that, and obviously have a number of assets on the water that we help fund through grants, working with Portsmouth PD and Portsmouth Fire and Rescue. And so our MERT director has been up there a couple times to assist in Baltimore, part of the Unified Command. And again, they're making amazing strides in trying to obviously dislodge that vessel and get that channel reopened up. So at this point, Peter, I'm gonna hand you, so PMT, I do want to mention that. Obviously, I talked about May being a pretty significant month. That's when Dominion Energy can begin installing the monopiles off the coast of Virginia. They're able to have bottom impacts there in the seabed. And so here we are, as we've been talking now for many years about offshore wind, it's becoming a reality. So I don't know if you want to chat about just what you're seeing and some of the vessels that are coming in, because they're cool. There's been cool vessels already, but they're about to kind of step up on the level of coolness.
Yeah, that's very, very true. You've probably all seen the monopile delivery vessels, the Sunshine and the Sunrise. They come in with 8 monopiles mounted on deck, and they discharge those. It's about a 2-day operation. We've got the Charlie there now discharging pin piles, which are smaller type monopiles that are for the power transfer stations. The monopiles are the bases that go from the seafloor to the surface of the ocean that the turbines and tower sections will be mounted to. That's been an ongoing operation. We've had, I want to say, 6 vessel calls there. We expect, I want to say, a total of 29. So, I mean, what you see there is only just a small fraction of what's going to be there. Soon you're going to start seeing TPs or transition pieces coming in, which is the transition between monopile and tower sections. And then in a year from now, we're going to start seeing blades and nacelles, which are the actual devices that generate the power. So these vessels that are coming in are just, it's just an influx of vessel traffic. We're talking about at any given time. When the project is in full speed, 200, 250 vessels on the project, just Virginia, right? And in just Saturday, we've got the first call of the Orion coming in, which is the construction vessel operated by DEME. There's 2 vessels that are going to be doing the primary construction. The Orion for DEME is doing the construction or the installation of the monopiles, and then the Charybdis, which was just launched, put afloat just last week in Brownsville, Texas. She'll be home ported in Norfolk, and the Charybdis is a Dominion-owned vessel. And she will handle the construction from the transition pieces all the way to the nacelles and blades. So the Orion coming in next week is this massive vessel that is going to take over the skyline over there at PMT. I mean, I was just joking a moment ago about being concerned about traffic coming out of the Midtown Tunnel, because when that vessel's in operation, we're going to see the crane fully erect, which is 700 feet in the air, taller than a container crane. It's going to dominate the skyline. We had to get FAA approval. We had to get Navy approval because of the glide plane. So it's just a really great image for Portsmouth to be right in the thick of this thing, right? This is where all the stuff is happening for CVAL. And then just to think about the future of the project, of the East Coast, where we have the potential to really be the marshaling port for all of these other projects. I just cannot be excited enough because of the no air draft restriction, because of the fact that we have deep water, and because of the fact that we have such a wonderful infrastructure at the Port of Virginia. And the surrounding area to handle this kind of business. Just in the, and I'll wrap it up here. I'm being long-winded, but I'm very proud of what's already going on in the city of Portsmouth and in the region, just in the mobilization of the Orion, which is a 3-week-long project where we're bringing in mechanics and welders and ship fitters and pipe fitters and all these tradesmen into Portsmouth. And they're taking up hotel rooms. They're eating. They're bringing in all this green money into the city of Portsmouth. It's a really great thing, and it's just here to stay, right? And so that's my general update. Have been very heavily involved in the project for a while, and look to continue that. And of course, Port of Virginia is integral to that as well.
Appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
And just to give you a sense on the actual improvements on terminal, we just finished milestone 2, and making headway on milestone 3 with all construction for the actual terminal upfitment for the CVAL project hopefully completed by the end of this year. So all's tracking very well. And again, it's an exciting time. It's taken a long period of time to get here. It's a little different than what we thought it was going to be, like many new industries tend to be, but ultimately, based on having some attributes that can't be replicated in other harbors and having the existing workforce, I think really puts Virginia and more importantly, the city of Portsmouth, an extremely unique position to capitalize on a long-term ongoing opportunity up and down this US East Coast. So I'll leave it at that and hand it back over to Mr. Peters.
Any questions for anybody? So when are you gonna be done drilling piles?
We should be done with the entire project be done end of the year. And again, we're on milestone 3, so there are still some additional piles in that section that will be having to be placed off the berth. But it definitely by the end of this year, those will be all completed.
The end of this year, calendar year.
Correct.
Anybody have a question? Thank you.
Thank you.
Is that again?
Okay. Well, thank you both to Mr. Gullickson and Mr. Hampton for the updates. A lot of exciting activity occurring right now throughout Portsmouth, both at PMT and VIG, and it'll be the rest of the region and offshore Virginia Beach. Your next item is 3930 Burton's Point Road. This is just a quick update. When we last met, staff was in receipt of a contract from Stonemont Financial Group. They are the developer that has submitted an offer to purchase the property. And since that time, we have been working to negotiate that and have, as of last week, submitted to them a revised agreement, which we hope to have finalized here, hopefully this week or next. So by your next meeting, we're hopeful that we will have a contract that will bring before you to execute, potentially sooner if possible.
Does that contract involve the exchanging of funds that they're gonna pay for it, or?
We'll include the overall purchase amount, which is $1,995,000 for the entire site. That's both properties, 3920 and 3930. And then all of the performance requirements in terms for them to meet their obligations to construct a industrial warehouse facility.
Great. Any questions from anybody in the comments?
Well, we will keep you posted on that as it proceeds, but all indications are it's moving forward with deliberate speed at this point.
Okay,
All right, your next item is 06th Street and 1603 7th Street. These are the properties that are currently owned by the Portsmouth Redevelopment and Housing Authority. They are in the process of working to transfer those properties. What we have identified is a need to consolidate the parcels to include a right-of-way, kind of a paper street there that bisects the parcels, which will help to prepare that for marketing and really making it one piece of property. I have obtained a proposal from one of the architectural and engineering firms that the city has under an annual services contract for the research, boundary survey and platting work to consolidate the property. There is a cost associated with that of $17,490. That is being provided by Wolford, again, a annual service provider to the city of Portsmouth. We're able to utilize them. But in order to move forward with that, I would like to get your authorization as a commission for the encumbrance of that money.
What's the cost of that?
It is
I'm sorry.
$17,490, and that is something that would fall under your contractual other line in your budget. That's what that exists for. So you can utilize those monies for that.
That's a one-time cost.
That, yes, sir, that's a one-time cost that will kind of reflat and combine the parcels. Will remove the paper street. And at that point in time, we'll have a kind of an assembled clean piece of property to market for development. We have received some interest, just kind of inquiries that have occurred, but I would expect once this is assembled and we're able to market it, that we'll get some considerable interest given the size of the property and its location.
But I guess we have $1,700 in the budget for that. Is that the way I read it?
Well, you actually have two different lines. You have your contractual other line, which we have programmed $50,000 in for contractual services in your FY 25 budget. We also have a separate line down under your development properties held for resale. There's another 10,000 program there for contractual survey and appraisal work. So you have sufficient funding to perform this work.
Okay. Any comments or questions on property at the 06th Street?
Is the architectural firm a women or minority-owned business?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know. I'd have to get back to you on that. They were procured under a annual services procurement that was done. They're one of, I guess, several firms that we have under contract, but I have to research that and get back to you.
And if they're not, is there an option to use a standing contract with a women or minority-owned business, or at least consider doing that? Or is this the only standing services contract that city has?
We have 4 or 5 engineering services contracts.
Yeah,
They're all relatively large entities. So I am not aware whether any is women and minority owned.
okay.
Was this the best, so this was the best, price that we got, that we received?
I did not obtain multiple prices. They've all been competitively priced through the procurement process, but they're all consistent in terms of their pricing. I certainly go back to do that. Traditionally, the way it works in terms of procuring services through annual service contract, you kind of work your way down the list
Okay.
or use different firms as needed. But this would be the first time we really had to do this. So this is the first occasion we engaged one of the firms that was previously procured.
Okay, thank you. So we need to vote.
I think we just need a consensus. Would that be
Consensus would be sufficient.
Okay. Well, we have to get this, land survey, we need the plot. So I say we do.
Yeah, I'm for it. I'm for it as well.
No objections, and that looks like we have
Looks like we have consensus.
of the group.
No one
Okay.
disagrees.
All right. Well, we will move forward with that. I will, with, Ms. Williams in our office to prepare that work and, get that underway so we can make the transfer as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Okay, next item is the Southgate Annex update. Mr. Donovan?
Yes, Mr. Peterman, wanted to just give you a really, really brief, update. Don't have too much to share. But what I do have to share, I think is some positive news and some movement. I was informed, last week by, the shipyard, their community planning and liaison officer, that, the shipyard is in the process of moving forward with a request for interest, which is the public solicitation process for making this site available for private use. They've recently undertaken the same action across the Elizabeth River at the St. Helena site in Chesapeake. I think there was some private interest in that property, and they decided to move forward with that. So they're going to be following suit here at Southgate. In terms of timing, I wish I had a time frame for you, and I don't want to guess on when that would be, but they are in the early processes of preparing that RFI. And I have asked for Mr. Childs, the Ciplo from the shipyard, and for him to get with Captain Bennett there to see about coming before you all at a future meeting to give you a formal update on the status there. But whether that is the 3-acre area, I believe that's in red, or larger area, we do not know yet. I think they've been kind of reassessing their needs out there. So we would obviously find that out when the RFI is prepared. So I think that's some positive news.
I think it's positive, and I talked to Patrick as well. And he said that the line on the left where the fence line is, that's pretty negotiable, as far as it needs to move to the left a little bit more, for interested parties, but that's one of those things that, they're still in flux as to when they're gonna do it, and how they're gonna do it, but it's gonna happen someday.
So is it two separate spaces? The photo on the left, I presume is land availability, and the photo on the right. So is that waterfront access that's going to come available?
So the area on the right that's boundaried in red is what initially was made available for utilization. And that includes the 2 piers, which are really in need of replacement.
Mm-hmm.
What I think Mr. Peterman was referring to is the western edge of that boundary area, possibly being able to expand and incorporate more of the landward side. We just don't know. I think in its totality, the annex is about 16 acres. So obviously a lot of the, additional land available there. And I think, more real estate that we've got, the more likely we are to get some.
Sure. Mm-hmm. I mean, with the waterfront in play, it makes it particularly appealing, I think.
We've had a couple of Portsmouth businesses express an interest in the property, primarily for storage and staging of materials and components. So I would expect that one or both of those firms may be interested in responding to an RFI when it comes out. But we're continuing to work to identify end users that may be interested.
Any follow-on discussions on Southgate Annex update? Thank you, Mr. Downey. This brings it new business then?
We do not have any new business items for you, and we actually do not have a need for a closed meeting. So that would bring us to any items submitted by commissioners.
No items from the commissioners. I'd just like to give one update on Craney Island. The person, from the Army Corps of Engineers name is Mike Anderson. I don't know if anybody knows him, but he's been in charge of Craney Island for forever. And so I promised Mr. Donahue I'd give him his contact information, and we'll bring him before this board here sometime in the next several months. And we'll provide an update of what the vision is for Craney Island. And hopefully at the same time, we can have the Port of Virginia maybe tell us what their plans are for Craney Island in the out years, and maybe there's possibility of multi-use for that island. And so we have a vision statement of where we go, not in 2024, but in 2025, 6, 7, 8, whatever. So and that's kind of what my thought is on the subject anyway, and I'm open to other suggestions as well, because it's a large piece of waterfront property with deep water access. So it's just one of those things. What do we want to do with, the 90 or so acres over there? So, and what's the Army's plan to do with it? Because right now it's just a never ending story of just, fill and dump it and sell the dirt. So anybody else have any items you could discuss?
But just to kind of expand on that, and Chris, I don't want to put you on the spot here, commit you to anything today. Is, do you think that's something that the port would be able to participate?
Oh, by all
in
means, yeah, I think a
maybe
joint,
May or June?
yeah, I think that's a great idea. I mean, obviously, we envision a 600-acre, highly advanced semi-automated container handling facility, very much to replicate what we have adjacent the facility at NIT as well as at VIG. Obviously, there's a great opportunity to provide dual rail access as well, similar to VIG. So, I mean, from a port Commonwealth Virginia perspective, that's our next future marine terminal to meet the demands of the market and the companies that we serve here in Virginia. So, but it is a long term, right? It is something we're talking 20+ years out, based on demand in the market to add additional capacity here to our container handling operations. But by all means, I think that's a great idea.
Because just so everybody knows, HII is obviously, building aircraft carriers, they're building submarines, and now the Australian submarine program is something, and they're looking for land and access. So, if there's a better use for it than just, making it into a parking lot for the terminal, or maybe there's dual use out there, or maybe we ask the Army to do something different than they're planning. So, it's just still looking for a vision statement.
HII has been very aggressive about snapping up any available waterfront just for these very subjects. I mean, from an offshore wind standpoint, their need for land and waterfront access, their only competitor right now is HII. Everything they've been looking at, HII is beating them to the punch. I've been in several meetings about it, so it's a really good point. The westward expansion of Green Island is great for the Port of Virginia. I think it's also great for folks like HII.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So I guess there's no report back, I guess.
We do have a few report backs for you, and I'll try to keep it quick and brief here. The first is we've been working to fill a request that was had for staff to reach out to Avangrid Renewable Energy for an update on their Kitty Hawk offshore wind project. I've made a couple of efforts to do some outreach there to Avangrid. I've not been able to get a response back, so I'm still working on that. And we'll continue to do so that we can perhaps get them before you at a future meeting as well. Mr. Hanson right in there, I think he's got a contact as well.
I do. I'm happy to reach out to them if you'd like me to. Yeah.
Taxing with me on that.
You bet.
Appreciate that.
Yep. Just for a general update and discussion.
Yeah, it's just, I think it's a general update on the project and status and overall plan, I think is what was desired.
Got it.
And then the next item, which Mr. Peterman had alluded to, is this new trilateral agreement, which is being referred to as AUKUS, and it's an agreement between Australia, the UK, and US for the provision of a nuclear submarine fleet to Australia. And we are seeing a lot of activity in the region currently as a result of that agreement, both as it relates to the construction of that fleet, delivery, to include helping the Australians develop the knowledge and industry to service and maintain those vessels. But in addition to that, just it's been somewhat of a catalyst for other engagement in the military and defense industry. So we are seeing a significant amount of interest from Australian firms in this region, in particular, as a result, looking to locate in Hampton Roads to do business with the United States government. So what that means for Portsmouth is I think we have a lot of opportunities ahead of us to bring some foreign investment to the region, hosting that here at some of our key waterfront sites and facilities, which are in high demand, we know. But we think there's opportunities to partner with existing local businesses and also bring in, new business as well to make what we call the blue economy of Hampton Roads that much stronger. There was recently an announcement, just last week that the first Australian firm to come into, Virginia landed in Norfolk, QMS, their materials testing firm. They were looking up and down, the entire eastern seaboard and, selected Hampton Roads, in this case, Norfolk for their, first location. And we are entertaining some opportunities in Portsmouth right now as well. So we'll keep you posted on that. But I think it just goes to show, the assets that we have in place and our location, in the region, on the East Coast is being really at the forefront to accommodate maritime and defense related, work. So we're really excited about the opportunity. I shared, last week with another group that, in some conversations I've had with, individuals who've been in the industry for 50+ years, that they referred to this as the good old days. So I think that's pretty exciting that, what lies ahead is a lot of opportunity and growth for Portsmouth in the region. So we'll definitely be coming back and kind of giving you a report on a ongoing basis about that. But certainly some excitement in the maritime defense industry. And then the last item I had is our State of the City. The Mayor's State of the City address will be held Friday, May 3rd. And that's going to be held at Rivers Casino here in Portsmouth. That begins at noon. I think it will run from noon till 2 p.m. The registration and the networking, I believe, begins at 11:30. Mrs. Williams has sent an invite out to each of you. If you have not already RSVP'd on your ability to attend, which we hope you are able to attend, we do have a table for you there. If you could just please respond and let us know so we can get a head count, make sure that we've got a seat for you. We are also inviting some Portsmouth businesses to join us as well. So we'll have a few of those at the table alongside you.
So did everybody get their invitation?
Yeah.
Chair, Vice Chair, that is it. I think that's covered all of this report.
Any questions or comments from anybody? Okay, well, thank you.